Hey there neighbors, Kevin here with eTrailer, and today we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the SumoSprings Rebel Custom Helper Springs here on our 2019 Holiday Rambler Admiral Class A Motorhome. If you own a Class A motorhome, you're probably feeling a lot of road shock and feeling a lot of side-to-side sway, especially when you're out there on the roads. Easy way to start to fix that is to upgrade your front anti-sway bar, and then from there you can start looking into some suspension enhancement. We have lease springs up front on our suspension here, and then there's another shock in there, but with it being just a factory shock, it probably really isn't intended to give you the most comfortable ride quality. So adding on a little bit more with some Sumo springs can help make all the difference. This spring is a two-piece design where it's going to bolt up to the frame rail and then also clamp down on the top of your lease spring pack, so that now it is going to activate a whole lot sooner than your factory jounce bumper. That one is typically only activating whenever you're bottoming out your suspension, so that's when you're hitting those really harsh bumps in the road. This activating a lot sooner and having a much softer progression from that first initial contact to when it fully is starting to press down is going to give you a much smoother and softer ride quality and help absorb all that shock. And with it activating a lot sooner, when you start to kind of have that body roll or sway where you're kind of leaning side to side, now it's going to hit that Sumo spring, and then it's going to want to push it back up because it's fighting against the Sumo spring instead. So that should give you a little bit more stability so that you don't feel as much sway as well. Now, this install isn't super technical. You're not using any specialty tools really, but you will need to make sure that you have a working leveling system. And what we're going to do is actually use that so that we can lift up on the front suspension and give us a little bit more space between our spring pack and our frame rail, so that way we can get all of our brackets in, get the Sumo springs in, and get those adjusted to exactly where they need to sit so that they meet up properly. So if this is something where you just don't feel comfortable getting under your motorhome and actually popping out your old factory jounce bumper and adding in a new one, then please feel free to use our dealer locator, and you can enter in your zip code to find a shop near you and get it professionally installed. If you're wanting to do this yourself, then stick around and I'll walk you through the process. So to start off our install, we want to get a little bit more space between our spring pack and our frame rail here where our jounce bumper sits. And to do so, what I've done is I've run down the front two jacks about as high as I really can do it safely so that my wheels are still touching the floor. And then at the back, I put those down until they were just touching the floor, just so we have a little bit more stability here. And with that, that gave us plenty of room to get our new Sumo springs in place. Now, to get the factory jounce bumper out, I'm going to be using a 5/8 wrench up on the nut on the top of our frame rail here. And then on the inside, I'm going to have a 1/2-inch socket. We'll pop that in, and we'll just take that bolt out. There we go. And we're going to hang on to that bolt and nut because we are going to be reusing those with our new Sumos. So for our top bracket, it's going to have an angled side to it. That needs to face out towards the wheel well. And if you look on the side of the bracket here, it's going to have a little nub that sticks up, and that's going to sit up against our frame rail end right here. Just like that. So before we pop that in, we're going to have two little screws that we're going to pop into here, and that is going to match up with two of the holes on our top Sumo. So we're going to go with the two wider holes here. So it would line right up like that. We're now going to put the factory bolt back in place, and we'll tighten that back down with that nut. Now with our top Sumo, we're going to get those lined up, like I said, with the larger of the two spacings. And get these started here. Alright, from the outside of the wheel well, you'll have access to these two screws here. And we're going to be using a 9/16 socket, and we're just going to go until this is nice and snug. For the next part, we're going to be installing our lower bracket, and we're going to be putting another one of those shorter screws through the bottom, and we want to be making sure that depending on what side we're on, we're always going with the inner side. So on the driver's side, that'd be the one furthest away from the wheel, and that would be on my right here. On the passenger side, it would be the exact opposite over on the other one there. And with the bracket itself, you're going to have this lip on it, and that lip is going to be facing towards the rear. All right, so we'll get this started. We're going to have to slide this around because we want to figure out exactly where it needs to sit so it matches up with our top. So I've got it on there just kind of loose. Now we can position this and see where we need to be so that this is going to mate up together. Once we find that spot, then you can take a paint marker or maybe just a piece of painter's tape and just mark somewhere on the actual Sumo itself and then on the mounting bracket, so that way you know you have it in the same spot. And I've done it on both sides, so that way I have 2 points to reference, make sure I really have it exactly where I want. I'm going to pop this back out. I'm going to tighten down that bolt. All right. Once we have that tightened down, now we'll go and slap it right back up. For our next part, we're going to have these clamp brackets. They're going to butt up against the bottom of our leaf spring pack. We want the thin side of it facing it, so just like up on that. And then the flat side on the bottom here, we're going to have flange nuts. They're going to mate up with our carriage bolts. Now, for the carriage bolts, there's 2 different sizes. The longer of the 2 is going to be up front, and the shorter of the 2 is going to be at the back. So I've already got one of the front ones in. Let's drop in our other one. And this is your chance to kind of shift side to side, make sure you got it nice and even. Then we'll come back with our bracket. And there is a notch on it. I've been putting the notch towards the center. And they tell you that you may have to kind of angle the carriage bolts a bit just when you're first getting it in to get the nuts in place. So you might have to kind of pull out a little bit. It might be a little crooked going on just to start, but once you fully snug it down, it'll kind of pull itself back. And then we'll just repeat the same process at the back. All right, now with all of our fasteners tightened down, that is going to do it for our driver's side. We're just going to repeat this process over on the passenger side, and then we are all good to go. Well, that's going to do it for our look at and installation of the SumoSprings Rebel Custom Helper Springs here on our 2018 Ford F53 chassis. My name's Kevin, and if you still have some questions about what's going to be the right suspension upgrade for your F53 chassis, then please feel free to reach out to us via our Ask the Experts link, a comment on this video, or a phone call to our customer service department, and we'd be happy to help you out on your journey.